I guess you're only as good as your next story, not even your last one. And I mean, it's quite simple. If you didn't get a set number of bylines every year, you'd be fired. So, and there's always younger, more enthusiastic people at a university trying to grab your job for less money. And so I suppose you're driven to going to some extreme sometimes in order to get a result to keep your position.
Did you do investigative work yourself?
I did. I mean, I was part of the Special Investigations team, which involved a lot of sitting around in surveillance vans and eavesdropping on people, I suppose. But again, I've always tried to say that this is a legitimate journalistic tool.
Hacking is a legitimate journalistic tool?
Absolutely. I mean, if many countries around the world have very corrupt politicians, well, it's nice to say that in Britain, actually, most of our politicians are reasonably nice, clean people because they know we'll catch them out. So I think if you're going to have someone who's elected, and if you know that he's, for example, cheating on his wife, you can say, well, OK, so he's a liar and a cheat. Do we really want to have him in power?
Yeah. But I think what's different and what's really changed the debate for many people is that it used to be about celebrities and perhaps about politicians.
Yeah.
Now we're talking about allegations about victims of crime and their families, and that's a completely different ballgame.
It's gone too far. I mean, Rupert Murdoch's right-hand woman in Britain was in charge, and I think she has to carry much of the blame that journalists started. Well, actually, it was a freelance investigator hired by a journalist to do the dirty work for him. It's never been a staff reporter at the News of the World, so it's kind of distanced a bit.
Well, except I think many people won't actually see it that way. I mean, the work allegedly, the alleged work is being paid for by the News of the World.
But in this particular case, the PI went one step too far by deleting the messages of a girl who'd been murdered, as we now know, but was missing at the time. And because her phone suddenly became active, her parents got false hope that she might be alive. And that's despicable. I didn't do it, and no one at the News of the World did that. It was a private investigator who got too carried away with that.
Well, we don't know the full circumstances of all of that, and we, there's a police investigation ongoing at the moment. But let me ask you about these latest allegations involving the families of victims of the July the 7th bombings. Now, what possible public interest could there be in hacking into their voicemail?
Well, you talk about public interest, and I've had, Boy George this morning called me scum, and, Hugh Grant yesterday called me evil. And all I've ever tried to do is to find the truth behind a story and then write a truthful account. I mean, I'm just a journalist. All I do is keep a journal of the day's events. And sometimes you have to look behind them to see what the real story is. So it's not evil to try and write a truthful account of something.
But again, I'm going to ask you what is different about trying to get something out of the voicemail of someone who's a victim of crime or the family of a victim of crime. I mean, why would you do that? What would you get out of that was really worth it?
The problem is that if you're a Sunday newspaper, you may get a story on Wednesday or Thursday. It's got to stay exclusive until Sunday. So you've got to look for something slightly different.
So the end justifies the means?
Pretty well. I mean, if you get a story that brings down a government or something, you win a Pulitzer Prize. But if you get...
But you're not going to get that out of hacking into the voicemail of a July the 7th victim.
Or Millie Dowler, indeed. You will be vilified, and rightly so. Well, the problem is that the people who've done it have been caught, but if they weren't caught, fundamentally, what you get from someone's voicemail is a truthful account of what's happened. It's kind of going to the horse's mouth, and that's what they're saying. So at least you're getting to the truth, and you just write that down. But I do admit it's almost impossible to defend hacking into the voicemail of a murdered missing girl. I mean, I won't even go there. It's much easier to defend hacking into Hugh Grant's phone. And because
he wouldn't see it that way.
He wouldn't,
see it that way.
But most people, for example, in Britain earn a couple £100 a week for a full week's work. Around the world, people earn $20 a week. He earns £8 million a picture, and all of them would easily... It's just saying, shut up, stop bleating about your phone, the amount of money you're paid.